We, spoke to him, and he made statements indicating that he had committed these heinous acts.
Our suspect's DNA has been a positive match to the DNA that we suspected to belong to our suspect at the scene. What we heard consistently is what a loving mother and father they were, loving husband and wife, and they absolutely protected those girls.
So was the Devil's Den murder suspect targeting the two young girls? We'll talk about the red flag behaviors alleged from former students' parents. And what will happen to the children now? Our power panel weighs in on the legal fight that may be ahead. And also coming up this hour, a massive manhunt underway this morning still for the man who allegedly murdered a family of 4 and left a baby abandoned. 2 arrests were made over the weekend, but the alleged killer remains at large. Plus, Slenderman stabber Morgan Geyser set to be released as early as today. But some community members aren't happy about it. We'll discuss. It's all coming up next for you right here on Opening Statements. Good Monday morning to you, and welcome to Opening Statements. I'm Julie Grant. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. I missed you over the weekend. It's great to have you back, and we got a big week ahead here on Court TV Live and a big show today. So let's get things started as we always do. Grab that cup of coffee. It's time for my opening statement. 3rd time's a charm. But for Suitcase Sarah, maybe the 12th time will be the charm. My friends, I know this news is going to come as a surprise to you, but Sarah Boone couldn't manage to keep lawyer number 11. That's right, her most recent appellate attorney has asked to be removed from her case. So has Suitcase Killer Sarah hit Guinness World Record status yet? 11 lawyers for 1 defendant. If they all practice together, they could be a law firm. That's how many people we're talking about here. And I think every single one of them deserves hazard pay for putting up with her. They probably all have PTSD. They should mark themselves safe from Sarah Boone. Now, when I think of her, I think, what a maniac. This woman is so obnoxious, so entitled, and so narcissistic that she will never see that she's the problem. She killed her boyfriend, George Torres. God rest his soul. And yet, in Suitcase Sarah's twisted world, it was everybody else's fault. She blamed the victim. She blamed his family. She blamed the system. She blamed the judge, blamed all her lawyers, blamed the media, and blamed the public. Her blame list is endless. So, I think the court should cap her at 12. 12 eggs in a carton, 12 apostles, 12 angry men. Suitcase Sarah shouldn't have any more lawyers than she had jurors. 12 should be her limit. George Torres didn't get 12 chances. He only got 1 chance to live. And selfish Sarah took it away. So now the court should stop her at 12 and take away her ability to play any more games and prolong the appellate process anymore. That's my opening statement. Let me know if you like it. Right now, it's time for your daily docket.
Were you scared? Is that why you did all this stuff?
Kind of, yeah. I was definitely intimidated. Intimidated. She was prepared for your life. She was pretty big.
Yeah.
In Montana, the state's case continues in the return mail murder trial for defendant Jordan Palmer. Court's going to resume at 11 a.m. Eastern time. In Georgia, we've got a brand new trial starting up today. We're calling it the dismembered wife murder trial. Nicholas Casotis is accused of murdering and dismembering his wife, Mindy. And we have another trial starting up in Florida, the retrial of Sheila Agee. This is from the STD Revenge Mom murder trial. Remember this one? This lady's accused of helping her son murder 18-year-old Brooklyn Sims in a Home Depot. First trial ended in a mistrial after incidents of jury misconduct. Right now, let's turn to our top stories. We're learning more about the Devil's Den murder suspect and his reported red flag behaviors. 28-year-old teacher Andrew McGann made his first court appearance on Friday, and he was held without any bail. This guy's accused of killing married couple Clinton and Kristen Brink. This is them. They were killed while they were hiking with their 2 daughters at the popular state park in Arkansas. Police caught him while he was getting a haircut. And they say they found his DNA at the crime scene.
We took him into custody, and with that, we, spoke to him, and he made statements indicating that he had committed these heinous acts. And our job didn't stop there. We executed a search warrant on his house and also on the vehicle. We are still waiting a lot of testing at the crime lab. But as the colonel said, DNA that was recovered at the initial crime scene matched his DNA that we pulled last night.
McGann was an elementary school teacher and was supposed to be starting teaching a new 5th grade class in Arkansas. How about that? Well, one parent of a student from one of McGann's past schools recalls his odd behavior. Zachary Polyak says that he saw him put a little girl on his lap and say things like, quote, "I wish I could date you. I wish you could be my girlfriend." Just really nasty grooming behavior, according to that parent. And he goes on to say that Mr. McGann was giving a lot of special treatment to the girls in his class in particular, that he was giving them candy, bringing them Sonic drinks, playing tag with them, tickling them, just really suspect behavior. So could this indicate a motive? Was he after the 2 young girls? Let's bring in retired Army intelligence officer and the owner of Black Ops Private Investigators, Manuel Gomez. Manuel, good morning to you. What do you think here? Could that be the motive, the girls?
Good morning, Julie. Unfortunately, I don't agree with the motive being the girls. And the reason why is because if he was looking for the girls, this incident was too random. He would have went to a park, maybe a school park. He would have done some type of surveillance on them. He went to what we call a state park sanctuary, which unfortunately is not one anymore. Okay, and he went there with the intent to commit a murder. I don't believe he went there to look for girls, these little kids, because if he would have, that's not the ideal place to find children. So that's why I lean towards, no, he was going there to commit a murder. And that's what my professional opinion is on that matter.
We certainly value your professional opinion, Manuel. Yeah, because you think about this, it seems that there was a big planning component to it. Am I right? The backpack, the partial obscuring of the license plate. Interesting when you say it doesn't seem like an abduction was what was planned. It seems more like a homicide. Would you dig a little deeper? What makes you think that he had intention to do a murder or multiple murders all along?
Well, Julie, I have to say, first, I don't even think this is his first one. It was too well planned. He picked the perfect area. Very little cell service. 2, an area that was not traveled by many people. He picked a very isolated location. 3, he's been transferred from state to state as a teacher, moving his locations. I will not be shocked, Julie, that during this investigation, if they find that there's other people who have been stabbed similar to this situation, because I don't believe this was his first one. And then finally, he taped up his license plate. He was concealing his vehicle so that they were not able to identify easily. Okay, he went there with the intent to commit murder. I do not believe it was those girls. And I want to say, I thank God for the heroic efforts of that mother for being brave enough to grab her children and bring them to safety. It's unfortunate that her love is what killed her, because she went back to see if her husband was okay.
Manuel, you're so right. Yeah, hero parents. You're right, and we're going to dive more into it during this show. Thank you for that. You're right. I share in those sentiments with you that these parents saved their children's lives. It was like they sacrificed themselves when Dad was trying to fend him off first, according to police. And as you said, Mom got those 2 girls to safety and then came back to rescue Dad or try to help Dad in some way. And it was just unfortunately too late. And then she was attacked too. Manuel, the police agree with you. The question was asked at a press conference about whether there seems to be any motivation with the girls, whether the girls were targets. Let's listen to what police said.
From what we know right now, we have no indication to suggest that the girls were his target. I can tell you that we have no reason to believe that there was any known association between our suspects and our victims. There's nothing to indicate that at all. It appears to be a completely random event. As far as the weapon that was used, it was a knife. Our victims died by stab wounds.
Okay, Manuel, you hear what he said there? Yeah, they agree with you. Let me show you something else, Manuel, and get your take on it. So this guy apparently has bounced around a lot. Mr. McGann here, he was an elementary school teacher in Texas for 1 year, 2022 to 2023, placed on administrative leave following concerns related to classroom management. Professional judgment and student favoritism. Okay, so he resigns in May and then starts a new teaching job in Oklahoma. He moves for the next school year. And then we know he resigned from that job in Oklahoma to move to Arkansas to start this 5th grade teacher job. Boy, that's a lot of jobs. The guy's only 28. He's living in 3 different states, 3 different jobs. Manuel, what do you think?
Well, you know, Julie, you brought up a beautiful point, because when you talk about him being transferred from job to job, these parents reported that he was grooming their children, putting them on a lap, giving them candy, giving them special favors to the girls. He should have been reported to the police back then. This should have been stopped back then. But the problem with a lot of these schools is they're too busy protecting the school's image, so they let him go. And that is the problem. You let this predator go, which he could have been brought before the police at that time. And this is unfortunate.
I mean, well, you're bringing up such a great point. Perfect point to ask our brand new guest. So happy to have on the show the sheriff in Erie County, Pennsylvania, Chris Campanelli. Sheriff, good morning to you. Thank you for coming on with us. And I know your heart breaks for this family, these 3 girls orphaned. And I say 3 because we know there was another daughter who did not go along on the hike. And now these 3 children are left without mom and dad. And to the point Manuel just raised, I would love for you to speak to that. It seems like there were red flags in this guy's past. He's bouncing around from job to job. There's questions about his classroom management, favoritism with students, parents. One parent at least has gone on the record saying he thought the behavior was grooming behavior. What do you think we can do more when it comes to paying attention to red flags with people like this guy?
First, I have to say I agree with Manuel. I think, these school districts they're not taking these things seriously enough. They're worried about their image. I think what has to happen is their administrations have to have more training. They have to be aware that when these things are brought to their attention, they have to be taken care of immediately. You can't just sit on your laurels and wait for it to happen.
Right, Sheriff. And I would love to ask your opinion on something about this. Manuel and I were just talking with this guy moving around and the way he carried out this crime, allegedly. We know, if we believe what the police are putting out there about him, if we believe that he was the one who did this crime and did it the way they say he did, makes you wonder if this is the first time, he may have committed a murder. I'm curious what you think about that.
I think, honestly, the fact that he's moved around so much such a short period of time, multiple jobs, I mean, you have to think that something is in the background there. Something is going on in his life. And definitely, I think they should investigate those areas where he was residing before, those other states, and see if anything coincides with each other. If they can tie those things together, they probably have a good case against him.
Right. I love what you said, Sheriff Campanelli, about going back to those states. Tell us, take us behind the scenes. How might you do that? Who might you want to talk to see if anybody has any information that could be telling about this defendant?
Sure. I think what the agencies would have to do is they would have to contact the local jurisdictions in those areas where he was residing. That'd be the first step, and have them, they'd have to do some canvassing, try to figure out if anything else matched up with him. Like they have the DNA evidence in this case. Maybe there's something else around there.
Right. You hit the nail on the head, Sheriff. That DNA, you're right. They've got his DNA there. Put it into the system CODIS, right? Manuel, that could be very telling how you run that on through. Maybe you get some hits elsewhere. Manuel, same question to you. Any places you'd go in particular if you wanted to investigate this character?
Well, I agree with the sheriff. I would exactly go to his locations and the state parks in that area and see if there was any stabbings. But there is a problem here, Julie, in this case. And the problem is that the sheriff can concur with me that these law enforcement agencies' computer databases are not linked. So if the DNA is registered for a stabbing in Pennsylvania, you won't find it in Arkansas when you arrest him, and you won't find it in Texas. We need to now start linking our national databases so that all law enforcement agencies are on one database so that we can get help and they can know who to arrest, who to keep, and has he done the crime before in another state. In essence, improving our law enforcement capabilities and helping our champions to bring justice to people, which are the sheriffs and the police, to be able to do a better job.
Oh, I love that, Manuel. Sheriff Campanelli, your thoughts on that suggestion, please.
Oh, I agree 100%. I mean, it's just like with the fingerprints, you know, there's a national fingerprint database. Why can't it be with DNA as well? I mean, the more communication agencies have makes it simpler for us to communicate and to put these bad guys behind bars, and that's exactly where they belong.
It's so true, and thank you for all the great work you do doing that day in and day out. Sheriff Chris Campanelli, I hope you will come back on opening statements again. It was wonderful having you this morning.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Anything for you.
You're the best, Sheriff. Take good care. Be safe. Manuel Gomez is coming with us. We're thankful for that, and we're thankful for you at home. Go grab another cup of coffee. Here's what's coming up next. We're going to continue our discussion on this case. The Devil's Den murders in Arkansas. There's going to be a legal fight now for those kids. We'll talk about it. Plus,
it's critical that the public know that, one, this is not a random act. There was an act after the event that we believe shows some humanity. And so we're appealing to that piece. As inhumane as the situation is.
in Tennessee, a family of 4 murdered and a baby left abandoned. A community on edge this morning as the manhunt continues for the suspected killer.
Matriarch of the Adelson family gets arrested.
Terrible.
Donna Adelson is facing charges of murder, the death of her former son-in-law, Dan Markell.
Prosecutors say a bitter child custody battle was the motive for the murder-for-hire plot. Now that Donna has turned into a defendant, what's next for the Adelson clan?
Now that the ship is really sinking fast, blood doesn't matter that much.
The Matriarch Mastermind Murder Trial. Live coverage begins August 19th, only on Court TV.
We've spoken to the family quite a few times over the last several days, and what we heard consistently is what a loving mother and father they were, loving husband and wife that they were towards each other. They absolutely protected those girls to their fullest extent, to the point that they cost them their lives.
Welcome back, and we continue now with our coverage of the stabbing in Arkansas at Devil's Den State Park and what happens now to the victims' children. So 2 parents are out on a hike with their 2 daughters on a Saturday afternoon, and then the unimaginable occurs. And investigators say when the attack started, Kristen Brink was able to run off with her daughters and rescue them. She was able to hide the kids, and then she went back to help her husband. And in the process, she was also stabbed to death. The children were found about a half-mile into the park, and there's also a 3rd child who didn't come along on that hike. So now these 3 orphaned children are safe with their relatives. But what happens next for these sisters? Let's talk about that and what happens next for this suspect. Let's bring in our legal eagles. I have with me family law attorney Jennifer Brandt and criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor Mario Gallucci. Good morning to you both. Really want to tap into your respective areas of legal practice and get your insight and experience on this. Starting with the kids, Jennifer, what legal hurdles are you anticipating for these children?
Well, they're now orphan children, so it's a question of, they're minors, and who are they going to be with? Usually the court will try to put them with family members, grandparents, or other close family members, but who they are, whether they're equipped to take on 3 young children, and where they live, this can all play into what happens to these kids. And then are there any, family members that don't get along, or are the kids going to be able to see both sides of the family? I mean, it appears that this was a loving couple. They were in an intact marriage, so hopefully the family can work together as one unit to protect these children. They've been traumatized, especially the 2 that may have witnessed what went on, so they're going to need probably some psychological counseling as well. But it's such an upheaval for this whole family. I mean, losing your parents, and then having to move potentially and start a new school potentially. I mean, these poor children, they're really it's going to be hard for them, and they're so young.
Yes, yes, Jennifer, thank you for all of that. Police described what it was like to notify the family about the murders. Let's take a listen to that together now.
Yes, they were notified just after we made the arrest. They were actually one of the first people that we went to notify, and as you can imagine, it opened up a whole different set of emotions for the Brink family. I'm sure that it was with a sense of relief, but also with a whole new emotion that they're going to have to deal with.
Oh my, just awful for everybody. No one wants to deliver that news. Jennifer, tell me, what advice would you have for those relatives who are caring for these precious girls right now and thinking about, how cumbersome it may be to go through the family court process and get everything done? What might you say to them now?
Well, it's so hard because I'm even thinking about them. They're mourning the loss of their loved ones. I mean, this couple. But I mean, for the benefit of the children, they want to try to normalize things as much as possible. And that is a difficult and a big uphill battle. But to try to keep things routine for the kids, get them back to school, get them in the appropriate counseling, try to keep their lives going as they would. I mean, it's August, that they would be preparing to get ready to go back to school. So to try to, keep things as routine as possible so that life goes on. But it is going to be difficult, a lot easier said than done, for sure, for this entire family.
Yeah, most definitely. Jennifer, thank you for all of that. Mario Gallucci, let me turn to you, please, with the criminal case against this suspect. I want to ask you about both the prosecution case and the defense case. So let's start with the prosecution's case. So we've got capital murder for this guy. Andrew McGann is this defendant's name. He's a teacher, a school teacher. Mario, tell me, in terms of building the case, the state, what are they looking to do right now to make sure that they nail this guy for these crimes they believe he did? Oh, and we may have just lost your signal. Oh, there you are. I thought we might have lost you for a sec there, Mario. Go ahead, please.
I mean, so they probably go for the DNA. They already have DNA at the scene. They have evidence from the search warrant at his house, and they have full confession. So they basically...
Mario, forgive me, my friend. I'm just going to interject here. I think your signal, it's taking hits. We lost the picture, and now the audio is going in and out. We're going to work on repairing that. Do me a favor, stand by kindly, please. I'm going to circle back to you on that answer. Jennifer, let me ask you, when it comes to this defendant and what lies ahead for him, I knew, kind of dovetailing off of the previous conversation I was having with Sheriff Campanelli and investigator Manuel Gomez about how this guy may have more of a past than we know about. Maybe, maybe not. Don't know. Tell me, if you're one of these prosecutors and you're trying to build things against him, what might you be asking your investigators to go look for to help arm you with everything you need to try the case to get the convictions for the capital homicides?
We want to know what is going on with him. I mean, we heard from parents from his prior school districts that there may have been some questions about his teaching, but no criminal per se activity. So maybe, to look into, I think Mario brought up before, that we should look into sort of what's going on in his past, anything in the areas where he lived previously, anything from his childhood or young adulthood. I mean, he's only 28 years old. There hasn't been a long time. But what has he done? Has he done anything criminally? Has he done anything questionable that may be helpful in investigators? Because it just seems so odd that somebody like this, who, we know he had teaching issues per se, but we didn't know that he had ever, attempted to harm anybody. So
right.
We'd want to know about that.
Right, Jennifer, exactly. As of right now, we know he couldn't keep a teaching job. That's about all we know in terms of the past, but maybe there's more. And then in terms of a defense, I feel like the first thing I would want to know if I'm representing him is what's his mental health status. Typically in a case like this, as you know, Jennifer, they're going to order that as soon as he hits the jail. They're going to order, mental health evaluation. I would think that would be the first place a defense attorney would look. Your thoughts on building that defense, what else may be valuable for them to know about Andrew McGahn and crafting an appropriate defense for him under the law?
Well, the question is, did he snap mentally? I mean, did something happen to him that provoked this, or that, he just went, crazy and did something like this? But we also know that he concealed his license plate. So that's a little bit questionable,
right?
In terms of planning.
Right, it sure is. I see some premeditation here, that's for sure. Jennifer Brandt, thank you for fielding all those questions for us. We're working to repair Mario's audio. We're going to hit a break. When we come back, here's what's coming up next for you on Opening Statements. We're going to turn our attention to the state of Tennessee. The manhunt continues this morning for the person police say murdered a whole family, but left the baby to be found. 2 arrests made over the weekend in connection to what happened after the fact. And
I'm satisfied that by clear and convincing evidence that under the current set of circumstances, Ms. Kaiser does not pose a significant risk of bodily harm to herself or others, or of serious property damage.
Slenderman stabber Morgan Geyser set to be released today, but not without concern from the community.
To know that murderers come down through here, I mean, yeah, it's scary. Who could have done that? Who could have left a baby at it somewhere with strangers outside in this heat? I mean, who would do that?
Exactly, who would do that? Welcome back. We have some new developments to share with you as the manhunt continues this morning for the wanted suspect in the case of 4 murders and the abandonment of a baby. Authorities have charged 2 others in connection to the case. Tanika Brown and Giovante Thomas are charged with accessory after the fact. Investigators believe both men assisted suspect Austin Drummond. The bodies of 4 adult family members were found in a wooded area in Lake County, Tennessee. The baby's mom, 20-year-old Adriana Williams, the baby's dad, 21-year-old James Wilson, the baby's grandmother, 38-year-old Courtney Rose, and the baby's uncle, 15-year-old Braden Williams. On Friday, investigators held a press conference and warned the public about Austin Drummond. They also talked about his long rap sheet.
Austin Drummond was convicted in Madison County several years ago for an aggravated robbery. He was sentenced to the Tennessee Department of Corrections, and he was housed at Northwest Correctional, which is in Tiptonville in Lake County. He completed that sentence. So it's what we call flattening the sentence. So he doesn't actually come out on parole or probation. He's just released because he's done all of his time in prison. While he was in prison, he received other charges. We actually took him to grand jury in Lake County because since it occurred at the prison, then it was in our jurisdiction. He had some drug charges that we indicted him for, and then shortly after that, he actually was charged and indicted in Lake County for attempted murder, attempted first-degree murder, which took place inside the prison. because he completed his sentence, then that was just like any other sentence that a person on the street would have committed. So what happened is once he was released from the Department of Corrections, the Lake County Sheriff's Department picked him up just as they would anyone else, brought him to the Lake County Jail, and he made bond. So he has been out on bond on those charges when we think that this was allegedly committed.
Oh, my. Let's talk about this some more. Let's bring in our guest. Still with me, attorney Jennifer Brandt and private investigator Manuel Gomez. All right, Manuel, hearing that criminal history and him being out on bond, what do you think, please?
Well, Julie, I have to say this is the year of the serial killer and the murderer, as we all see throughout all the cases on Court TV. The fact that they let him out is a travesty to our system. The system failed. He was being charged with attempted murder. He was in the Department of Corrections. He should have never been left out. Those people should not be dead. He should have been going to trial. Why did they release him? This is insane. In New York, we don't release them if they got attempted murder charges, drug charges. Yeah, he did his time. I understand that. But letting him make bail, I'm sorry. This was a failure of the system.
I echo everything you just said. I couldn't agree with you more. It is insane. It is insane. The system failed the public here big time. Because you're right, Manuel. He's got an attempted homicide charge. You're right. He served his time on the aggravated robbery charge. This is a different crime that's being alleged here. I mean, that is nuts to me that it would be, oh, he did this in the prison, and then, oh, you can have a bond. Like, this isn't stealing a sandwich at a cafe. This is trying to kill someone. No, there's no reason in the world he should have had a bond. Like, whatever judge gave him a bond and whatever prosecutor had the case, like, I would love to know what in the world those people were thinking, or weren't they thinking? Because he had to have been brought in, been arraigned. You know, you look at the charges, you look at the history, you know, and who thought it was a good idea to let him go home? This is the kind of thing that happens. It's infuriating. Jennifer Brandt, I would love your thoughts on this. I'm sure you have a lot to say about this guy and whether he should be out at this time.
I 100% agree with both of you. I mean, he was a dangerous individual. He had threatened the jurors at his prior trial after, you know, they brought this up at the parole hearing for him. He was a bad guy. He is a bad guy and not somebody that should be let out on the street, especially when there was reason to still hold him. I mean, yeah, he did his time, but then there were other charges against him. Knowing how dangerous, what a dangerous individual he is, why would anyone think about releasing him into the public? I mean, this is a guy that just went right out and committed another crime even worse than his first. So when are we going to learn to keep these people in jail, especially when there's reason to?
Exactly. Jennifer, you're so right. When are we going to learn? What's it going to take? 4 people are dead. This is a massacre of this family. Manuel, authorities are saying this guy is really dangerous. Don't approach him. They're telling the public, stay away from this guy. How much of a threat to society do you think Austin Drummond is right now?
Well, you brought up a good point, Julie, about his threat. The prosecutor said that this is an isolated incident to the situation. No, he is a bona fide serial killer. He killed 4 people brutally. And this case, he is a danger to the entire Tennessee. And the bottom line is that this case also epitomizes what do you do when a serial killer is coming at you. You have to try to humanize yourself. You got to let him see, hey, my name is Manuel. I'm a father. I have children. This is why when he killed those 4 people, he saved the baby's life because the baby was crying. He saw the vulnerability. He saw the angel. He saw, oh my God, I can't kill this innocence. The baby became humanized. And I can prove that to you because he even put the baby in a child seat, Julie, and dropped her off. All these serial killers have this in common. They see us as objects, and that's why they kill us. The minute we humanize ourselves and they see us as human beings, they won't kill you. But he is a threat to America, and he is more dangerous because he does not want to go to jail.
Well said, Manuel. Excellent insight. So we're starting to see what the connection may be. We have a Facebook post from a family member. So Courtney Rose, who's the baby's grandma, and this woman who's writing the post says that Courtney, her husband, and Caitlin Speed are siblings. And she says that Adriana and Braden are their niece and their nephew. And Adriana is the baby's mother. Austin Drummond was Caitlin's boyfriend at one time. She says he was close to our family. We cared about him. We thought he cared about us. He's literally been nothing short of amazing to us and our kids every time he's been around us up until this point. He has been amazing to our niece, who's Caitlin's daughter. We never expected him to cause any harm to anyone, much less anyone in our family. Wow. Jennifer Brandt, what do you think hearing these words from these family members?
Yeah, well, now we know there's a connection, and it's not just a random killing, because you wonder, why would he harm these 4 people and want to kill them? Because, I mean, he wasn't robbing them. What could they have, really? But, there was some connection. While he may have been nice to the family, who knows? I mean, who knows what went on with he and Caitlin, and whether he was angry, obviously, at her for some reason, or the other family members. But as we've pointed out, this is a dangerous individual. He does not value human life. He does not, even people he knows, he had his connection with them. He had been in a relationship with one of them at one point, doesn't care. He's a cold-hearted killer. So he is dangerous, and hopefully they're able to catch him and get him off the street as soon as possible.
Amen. Boy, great insight from you both. Thank you so much. Jennifer Brandt, Manuel Gomez, thank you both kindly for everything this morning. We'll see you both soon. And still to come here, we're talking about Morgan Geyser. That's right, the Slenderman stabbing convicted felon. She's going to be released, possibly as early as today. People aren't happy about it. We'll talk about that next.
Did a lost letter lead to murder?
He acted in self-defense.
A misunderstanding over mail turns deadly.
Now the victim's neighbor faces life in prison.
The returned Mayo murder trial. Live coverage today on Court TV.
Donna Adelson is facing charges of murder, the death of her former son-in-law.
This is terrible. Now that Donna has turned into a defendant, what's next for the Adelson clan?
The matriarch mastermind murder trial. August 19th. Only on Court TV.
Welcome back. One of the girls behind the so-called Slenderman attempted murder trial is scheduled to be released from custody as early as today. Defendant Morgan Geyser was 12 years old when she and another girl stabbed their classmate 19 times. Geyser was found not guilty by reason of mental disease or defect. Now the time has come for modified conditional release for her. So what's this mean, and what does the community have to say? Well, according to the city attorney, there are concerns.
Because all we know at this point is that she's going to be placed in a community that's a densely populated residential area with close proximity to a number of schools, daycares, and parks. And our residents, if they find out about this, will be outraged. And I understand that the plan is confidential, but unfortunately, due to the notoriety of this case, I think if our residents see Ms. Geyser outside of the home or taking a walk in the neighborhood with supervision, they will be aware of who she is.
So this is kind of like a step-down facility. You know, she's going from the facility where she monitored 24/7 to one with much less monitoring. There's activities there, knitting, gardening, sewing, blah, blah, blah. But is she going to be a danger to anybody at that facility, or if she's out? Because it's far less restrictive than the custody she's been in for the last several years. Let's talk about this. Let's bring back in criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor Mario Gallucci and parenting and family relationship expert, psychologist Dr. Sue Kornbluth. Great to have you both. And Mario, I felt so bad we lost you there earlier. I think we got you back. Cross fingers. Let me start with you here, please. Your thoughts on Morgan Geyser. Should the community be worried about this woman?
So she was not convicted. She was found not guilty by reason of insanity. So that's not a conviction. You don't go to prison. You go to a state mental hospital where you are regularly evaluated by doctors and given treatment. And at this point, doctors have evaluated her and said that she is not a danger to herself or to the community, and that she should go to this step-down facility, which is not really a release. I mean, you weren't in jail, so you're not in custody. You're in a hospital setting. People don't understand that. People think that not guilty by reason of insanity means that you stay in the facility forever. You don't. I mean, sometimes it ends up being longer than a prison sentence if you never become stable again. But it seems like she's progressed. She was a young child at the time of the stabbing. She's now older, and doctors believe that she's not a threat to herself or the community.
Mario, thank you for the explainer there. It's wonderfully helpful for anybody who hasn't worked in the criminal system. Yeah, you're right. I mean, at some point, people like Morgan Geyser can be let go. And then the question is, okay, is she going to continue to be stable? Dr. Sue, this is where I want to bring you in here. We know when she's in the facility, you know, the state hospital, obviously she's going to be checked and rechecked, and there's so much monitoring. But here at this step down, not as much in terms of the mental health evaluation process, or at least not as frequently, perhaps, for her. They're going to try to reacclimate her into life. Does that concern you as a psychologist?
Yes, and in fact, this whole thing concerns me because what I want to bring up here is one name, Peyton Lautner, who was stabbed 19 times by this young girl. Look, she was 12 years old when this happened, and I understand this, but in a step-down facility, I don't know if that's the best thing here because it is less monitoring, right? She's going to be in a facility where she's going to have a lot more privileges. She's going to be wearing, I think, a rest monitor on her ankle. But to me, she needs to still be monitored very, very closely. There is a history of schizophrenia within this family. And what concerns me the most is what she was first said the facility that she was going to be brought down to was right near Peyton Lautner. I feel like everyone is forgetting that Peyton Lautner was a traumatized victim by this young girl who stabbed her 19 times, Julie. That's a lot. And so this whole thing concerns me right now. I believe she should have stayed where she was for a very long time.
Dr. Sue, appreciate it. And we're going to talk much more with you in our next hour. We're going to do a big deep dive into this case. Thank you for recognizing victim Peyton Lautner. Mario, I want to share with you something. The prosecutor noted at the last court hearing said that the victims were notified of what was a change in placement for Morgan Geyser. As you know, Mario, she was supposed to go to one facility that was going to be even less restrictive than the one she's going to be released to now. And the family said, well, now with this change, with a little more restrictions, more activities, more monitoring, perhaps, it's the lesser of two evils, they said. Mario, do me a favor, think like a prosecutor for a second, not like the wonderful criminal defense attorney that you are, like a prosecutor back in the day. What might you say to Peyton Lautner's family? What might you say to them when they don't want to see this release happen right now? But as you noted moments ago, legally, you know, it's going to happen at some point.
So it's important that prosecutors have a very good relationship with their victims. And in this case, they made the victim notification, letting them know that she's going to go down to the step-down facility. They also had the opportunity to have this young lady evaluated by their own doctors. And I believe they're having a hearing today. At that hearing, they can contest the report from the facility she's in now. If they have their own doctors evaluate her and they think that she could be a threat to the community or herself, then maybe she stays in that facility. That's basically what that hearing is for today. So there is an opportunity for them to be heard, for the victims to have some input into that. And you would tell your victims, look, we had her evaluated by our own team of doctors, and they agree with the facility, or they don't agree with the facility, and now it's going to be up to the judge. But they're doing everything possible to keep them in the loop, which is what you're supposed to be doing as a prosecutor. Keep your victims, keep your witnesses, everybody in the loop.
That's all really helpful. Mario Gallucci, thank you so much for weighing in. I'm sorry our time was cut short today. I know you had a big high-profile trial to get to. Thank you for making time for us. We'll see you soon. Dr. Sue Kornbluth is coming with us. Please do the same at home. When we come back, we're going to continue our coverage with the Slenderman stabbing case and the latest from Morgan Geyser. That is all for opening statements, folks. If you like the episode, share it with your friends. We'll be right back in just 4 minutes.